This is an article from an online magazine called Tech Republic. It discusses the difficulties of prosecuting cybercrimes. Now, this article is actually from 2011, but the problems that it discusses are still problems that apply today. Um, so basically, back in the day when the internet first started, it's kind of a little bit like the Wild West, right? There were little rules, little boundaries, little regulation, and over time, governments have passed laws against cyberbullying, cyber stalking, theft of wireless services, identity theft. Yeah, you know what? Like 25 years ago, this category of laws didn't even exist. Yes, there was a time before the internet, people, and as time has gone on, the regulation has grown, and so we've had these regulations that have been enacted, and so we should be okay on the internet for the most part, right? Well, not exactly. It's one thing to be able to have these particular types of laws. It's another thing to be able to enforce these particular types of laws. One of the first issues is going to be jurisdiction. Now, when I say jurisdiction, I mean which branch of the law is actually going to take up this offense. Is it going to be a crime, or is it going to be a civil infraction? That will determine which agencies get involved, be they state, federal, or international. This brings up a second issue of jurisdiction. Where did this crime take place? And let's give an example. Let's say this is our world map. Let's say you live in Alaska and you get a call from the bank saying someone has used your credit card in Florida, but you are able to find out that the actual taking the credit card number happened through a server in Australia. So, where did this crime actually take place? Is our question. Did the person who physically used the card in Florida, is that where the crime takes place? Is it where it's taken through a server in Alaska? And here's the thing: the police in Alaska cannot arrest or investigate things that happen in Florida. Neither can they arrest or investigate things that happen in Alaska. So the thing is, which police agencies, which government agencies that are prosecuting are the ones that are going to be able to take up this crime? We have to be able to determine where this actual crime took place. And here's the thing: from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, from state to state, from country to country, all these laws are different. What's illegal in one place may not be illegal in another place. Another issue can be one of proof. You have to be able to prove that this person actually committed the offense. In this case, down we're deciding it's going to be a crime. This can be difficult if you are not physically there. Let's go back to our example of you living in Alaska. Let's say your card was used in Hollywood, Florida to buy key lime pies at a roadside stand, and somebody used your credit card there. So let's say, okay, they can take credit cards. Does that mean they have cameras? Does that mean on the camera they actually captured a clear picture that you can identify somebody, or that even if it's identifiable, can you figure out who it is? Let's say that the person who sold the pie, they were selling 20 or 30 pies during around that same time because it was a busy weekend, and they can't remember or identify the person who actually sold them the pie. And without that information, you won't be able to prove it. What if it's a card that's being used online? Can you place the person directly behind the computer typing at the time it was used? These are all things that you're going to have to do if you're going to prove this crime beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the highest standard of proof that you have to have in the legal sense. And remember, if the judge and jurors have no doubt of the defendant's guilt, or if they only have unreasonable doubts, then a prosecutor has proven the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, the defendant should be found guilty. But you have to be able to get proof in order to present to a jury to help them to understand that it can't be an assumption. You have to be able to place the person in that area. The way I kind of short form explain it to people is I have to be able to prove this person did it. I have to be able to prove how they did it, and I have to be able to prove why nobody else did it. Let's take our example a different way. Like I was saying before, let's say it wasn't used in a physical place, but used on the internet itself. There are several ways that people can mask their identity on the internet, making it harder for people to understand where this transaction actually happened. They'll send it through different countries, and be able to mask the original point of origin. And as I had said before, you have to be able to prove that that particular person was sitting behind the keyboard when this offense was committed. And what makes it can make it even harder sometimes is the technology sometimes is moving faster than the authorities can catch up to it. There are several black market areas of the internet where people can buy contraband, where people can buy information about you, and this is where these offenders go. And as these sites pop up, the authorities have to find them. These are just some of the ways that it makes it difficult, not impossible, for authorities to prove cyber offenses on the internet.